Interest on their reserves. In action, our next guest costs billions of dollars. Joining us now, Florida Senator Rick Scott, who introduced the legislation. It's so arcane, Senator, and we've had this discussion. I don't know if it's been had anywhere else on TV. I'm not sure what it does for rating, obviously, but it's mind-boggling. It's a definitely something that economist Judy Shelton has talked to us about quite a bit. Do you know what the actual total amount of profits for the money center banks based on just getting paid interest to hold stuff in their account? Because it's stuff that doesn't get lent out to the private sector. If they just leave it and earn interest on it from the Fed, it's defeating the purpose of even creating money.
You know, Joe, last year it was $186 billion. $186 billion, and 40% of that went to foreign banks. So it really is just part of a problem. You've got a balance sheet now that under Jay Powell is over $1 trillion less than what liabilities are. Because of this paying $186 billion, we had $77 billion of losses last year. We got this office building, which you can't understand, it costs so much. There's no independent inspector general. So it's just this whole process that what's happened is under Jay Powell, it just doesn't work. There's 23,000 people there. What are they doing? Why he's trying to control the interest rates for, the short term, long term, everything with the balance sheet. It makes no sense. And they're losing money. Never before were they losing money like this. They should be sending money back to the treasurers. That's what they always did before. So it's just been a disaster. But paying interest to the banks so they don't lend money out to small businesses around the country is wrong.
What's the rationale for? And I'm certain that the big banks aren't complaining. But what's the rationale? Why wouldn't it make more sense for it to be lent out to expand businesses in the private sector?
Well, this started with emergency powers, and when there was the financial crisis back in 2008, and it's just kept going, but. The rate should be determined not by Jay Powell, but by negotiations between the bank and the Federal Reserve. But the Federal Reserve just gets to decide. So, but right now, you can make plenty of money now as a bank because you get on your reserves you get over, I think it's over 4%, 4.7% from the Federal Reserve. You don't have to take the risk of lending to some small business guy like I was when I bought my first business, a donut shop, when I was 22. I got the banks to lend me the money to do it. When I built my hospital company, where they took risk when they were lending me money like that. With Jay Powell, they take no risk, make 4+%. Honor my deposit when I have money at the bank, pay me way less than that. So I mean, it's a great arbitrage for the bank, but it's horrible for the balance sheet of the federal government. Two, we don't actually know what real interest rates are because Jay Powell's deciding what they are.
Senator, that's what I was going to bring up. You're right. I don't disagree with you that this is emergency funding that needs to go away at some point. But we have a balance sheet that has soared at the Fed and has not gone back down post-financial crisis. You've got this impact, and by the way, this was done to try and give the Federal Reserve more power over interest rates during the great financial crisis. If you were to get rid of this at the same time and maybe try and shrink the balance sheet, I just wonder what would happen to interest rates and to the economy. We don't know entirely. And again, not arguing against doing it, but what do you think happens when and if those two things are put into place?
We'll get to a real market. I mean, not an artificial market. I think if Jay Powell, it appears when he built up the balance sheet to do it to try to keep interest rates down, well, that caused a massive misallocation of capital. Let's live in reality.
But it was Bernanke that built it up.
I'll say it again.
I mean, it was happening, building up the balance sheet really happened under Bernanke originally because of the financial crisis. It's just we have not shrunk it back down.
Yeah, but after during the COVID, Jay Powell took the balance sheet from like 4.1 trillion to 9 trillion. Why? I mean, maybe for a couple of months we needed some liquidity, but he kept doing it month after month after month. Then he won't take it down. And then he uses this massive balance sheet to actually pay for the capital expenditures of this massive building, rebuilding of refurbishment of these office buildings. So we don't, they don't follow GAAP accounting. We can't even do an inspection of them. They don't even have an independent inspector general. It's just all this together. We're going to have a massive rethinking of how the Federal Reserve operates.
Senator, one of the worst, when we think of the worst Fed chairman, it's usually when you miss inflation or you let inflation get